Welcome back to Eliances Heroes, where heroes in business align. To be part of our super community and find out more about Eliances, visit www.eliances.com.
That's right, and welcome back to the show again. We always have so much to cover in such a short period of time, but I know each and every one of you, with the feedback that we continue to get, are learning, listening, and watching. We're now on over 100 online streaming outlets, including the Amazon Fire Stick and Roku, and just so many more. Well, I'm really excited too. And last thing too, thank you for the feedback. I mean, the feedback we continue to get when I had the longest standing NASA administrator on. That's right, NASA. So make sure you go to Eliances.com. That's Eliances.com. All right, you want to look good? You want to take good care of your eyes? Check this out. We have Cliff Robinson with us today. He is the CEO and part owner of, are you ready for this? Revo, as in the Revo Sunglasses. And you can reach him at Revo.com. Cliff, welcome to the show.
Nice to meet you. And it's funny you mentioned that you just had a NASA person on your show, because Revo Sunglasses were created by a NASA scientist. So what a funny little segue to get me on here.
Is that absolutely, that's amazing. Talk to us about like how that even came to be, and how was NASA like even involved to be able to do that?
Yeah, so, it's one of those great entrepreneurial, sitting in your garage kind of stories. I was a kid at the time, so I can't take credit for being involved. But there was this NASA scientist whose name was Dr. Mitch Ruda, and he was charged at NASA with fixing satellites that were up in space. And when satellites were going up in space back in the 1970s and 80s, the sun's harmful UV rays that we know of down here were actually damaging the satellites up there. And he also happened to be a skier. And it was one of those, cartoon light bulb moments that went off in his head where he's like, if I can help protect satellites up in space, you think I can help protect my eyes down here on Earth and give myself a better experience when I'm on the ski slopes. And it's literally that classic story of, after hours, he was tinkering in his garage and using all of his NASA experience to create what became the Revo lens, which became sort of the gold standard for, performance eyewear back in the 1980s.
And clearly an iconic brand. I mean, people know it, they've heard of it. I mean, and that's just phenomenal. So if it could help protect those up there, it could certainly, I would assume, help protect our eyes here down on Earth.
100%.
So how did it come to be then? Talk to us about, how did you become part owner and CEO of, just again, such a cool brand?
Sure. So, I'll start by saying I'm super humbled and honored to not only be here, but be able to talk about Revo. I grew up in the eyewear industry. I was part of a family business that was always in the eyewear space. And Revo was always this incredibly iconic, amazing brand that I always said, God, I wish I had done something like that. Friends of mine were always involved when it started. I knew the original ownership and the people who started it with Dr. Mitch Ruda. And as happens with great sort of independent brands that, shoot up to the stratosphere and become super popular in a fast time frame, it got bought by a couple different conglomerates who wanted to have Revo in their portfolio because it's such a cool brand. And also what happens sometimes when a cool independent brand gets part of a conglomeration and gets into a large portfolio where there's many, many brands being sold, it kind of lost its way. And as we like to say, it was kind of resting. If some of you out there have seen the movie The Princess Bride, we like to say almost dead, but not quite dead, resting. And I got a call one day, as these things work, someone knows someone, and we got a call and the person said, hey, would you like to get involved with Revo? It's for sale. And I didn't think twice. It was one of those, like a lightning round of, yes, what do I need to do? And that was about 4 years ago. And we had the opportunity to take this brand from a large global conglomerate where it was one of 50 brands in a portfolio. And we really have again made it the only American independent eyewear brand out there in the market today. And it's been super fun and super exciting. And like I said, it's been an honor to be involved with such an iconic brand that's in the market.
Wow, congratulations. Who would have ever thought again your path would have come to this, but
You
and
know,
that you were already previous in the industry and in the position. I mean, again, the quote, stars aligned.
yeah.
So, and this happened 4 years ago. So what's it like? Contract sign, you're now CEO, you're now part owner of this. Like,
Yeah.
what does someone like you even do the first day?
So I'll be very honest. It's going to sound very naive. Yes, I'm a CEO and yes, I'm a part owner, but I naively thought I was going to sign the papers. We were going to make an announcement that we now own Revo, and the phones are going to ring off the hook. And everyone was going to call and be like, "Oh my God, I love Revo. It's great that you're now the new owner, and send me product, whether it's to my store or whether it's to the consumer direct." And life doesn't quite work that way. And so, we signed the papers, we made the announcement, and, I think it's fair to say it was met with a much more lackluster response than I had expected it to be. Many people had said, well, the market's moved on, the brand isn't as exciting as it used to be, but good luck because I'm rooting for you and I love the brand. And so what we set aside to do is do the hard work of brand building. We redesigned all the product from scratch. We redesigned all the marketing from scratch. We launched a website. And, David, here's where that great story goes is we planned on really relaunching to the market in the spring of 2020. So where that story's going. The spring of 2020, the world kind of shut down. And so luckily, we leaned into the digital world where people were shopping. They were sitting at home. They needed something to do. And we really kind of talked directly to the consumer. And, here we are 4 years later. The world has kind of started to reopen. We're reaching a new normal. And, we're developing more brick and mortar retail partnerships daily and speaking to more consumers directly daily through Revo.com. And, we might be 2 years behind our schedule because of COVID and some of the things that have happened in the world. But, it's the hard day-to-day work of blocking and tackling and just getting your message out there and letting people know that we are, in our opinion, doing great things, offering a great experience, offering great technology, which is at the end of the day what a consumer wants, is something great and new, but something they trust.
Excellent. Well, that's right. And definitely doing great things. And like me, having the opportunity to do great things and interview somebody like you, Cliff Robertson, CEO of Revo Sunglasses, Revo. You can reach him at Revo.com because you're watching, listening to me, David Kogan, host of the Eliances Hero Show. It's the only place where entrepreneurs align. So make sure that you go to Eliances.com to check out past episode at ELIANCS.com. Once again, the only place where entrepreneurs align. So where do you see, it is, Cliff, as you mentioned, it's a very competitive, space out there. But
Sure.
You know what, over time, what isn't competitive, right? More people
Exactly.
like and buy it, others come along. Are people able to buy now directly from Revo, or do they?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can visit, your local optician, your local sporting goods store, your local independent shop, and then of course Revo.com, where we are here to take care of you 24/7. That's where people are interacting today.
And with the styles that you have, what's like the most popular one right now?
There's without getting too technical and sounding too nerdy, what's popular about our brand and what really makes us stand out is our lens itself. Revo is really known for its lens. Whether you look at our iconic blue water mirror lens or our iconic green evergreen mirror lens, people sometimes shop lens first with Revo, which is very unique as opposed to other brands. But if I had to say, a specific style that's iconic, we do a rimless sort of sport frame that is our global bestseller. It fits men, it fits women, it fits larger faces, it fits smaller faces. It's available in many colors. It's available in those many lens choices. And so that's probably our number one style. But again, it's very much more in Revo about the lens choice. The frame almost comes second, the lens comes first.
I think it is so cool though that you got the bridge to NASA.
It's amazing.
What other brand has that?
None. And again, that's why I start out every conversation with, I'm super honored and super humbled. because I grew up in the eyewear industry and I always was, enamored with what Revo did because it was literally founded by a NASA scientist and had NASA technology built in. I mean, there's nothing cooler and more American than NASA. And here we are 35 years later, just really honoring that tradition and sticking to the DNA of what was started back in the 1980s. And today, what's cooler than, NASA and space and all of the space exploration that's happening with, all these entrepreneurs that are sending, regular people like me and you up into space now.
I love it. Well, I got a multi-million-dollar idea for you regarding tying those two even more. I'm going to talk to you about off the air, and then you know what? Maybe if you end up launching it, we can.
You
have
got
you
it.
back on and stuff.
Love
It's
it.
going to be really cool.
Love it.
So, and yeah, and I mean, again, that's just it's so cool. So, besides then sunglasses, what other things does Revo manufacture or make or brand?
So I must admit, sunglasses are the mothership if we're sticking with the space theme here. But I happen to be a passionate skier, and I've always said, if Revo can make great sunglasses, they should also be able to make great goggles. And so last year, during the height of the pandemic of COVID, we partnered up with probably the most famous American male skier of all time, Bodie Miller, and created a goggle collection of Revo X Bodie Miller, where we developed a really unique lens technology that we call photochromic. So the lenses will go from dark to light or light to dark, depending on your on the conditions out there. And so hopefully we're bringing the same experience that we bring you on the tennis court, on the golf course, now to the ski slopes. And so I'm super in love with our goggles as well as our sunglasses. And then we also just introduced Revo blue light reading glasses. So, we're sitting here today on a computer, and, people know that the light emitted off a computer can be harmful to your eyes. And so we developed a Revo computer reading glass that will protect your eyes from the harmful light that comes off all the screens as you're sitting inside or working from home or working hopefully back in an office. So those are the three main business units, if you will: sunglasses, goggles, and computer or reading glasses.
Great. So what can you share as far as, again, having now the experience 4 years later, coming in to really revitalize an iconic brand?
Yeah.
The difference between that, whereas when some we've had on who have started from scratch, neither one is easy in that. So
Yeah.
talk to us about, now looking back, right, 4 years later, and that first day, again, launching it, here they shall come.
Yeah.
And we never know, right? Typically
Right.
how things are going to go. So what, if you had a, now looking back, talk to us about what you've learned during that process.
So first of all, I learned a lot. I've met a lot of wonderful people. I've traveled the world, and that's been super excited. I think the quick thing that comes to mind about learnings is twice as hard, twice as long, twice as expensive. So for all of you entrepreneurs out there, whatever you plan, I would plan twice as long, twice as hard, and twice as expensive, because nothing goes according to plan. And we are a living embodiment of that. And I think it's a testament to the whole team at Revo, not just me, that, in a few short years of 4 years, we really took this iconic brand, revitalized it. We are continuing to revitalize it, worked really hard, did all the blocking and tackling we needed to do. And here we are 4 years later, on our way to really bringing Revo back to the consumer in a much bigger way than it had been for a couple of years. And, as I said, it's never easy, but it's a lot of fun along the way. And, if you, ask good questions and listen, the success will come.
All right, so I want to do some snooping in your office. You've got a lot of books,
Sure.
a number of pictures. Those of you that are watching online and stuff, those of you listening to radio, make sure you check us out on many of the online video platforms. What's something that's most precious to you, something that is most meaningful if you can only pick one item of what's in your office that we see?
Well, if you want to go with what's the most meaningful thing in my office, it's probably right off my camera. If I move my camera a little bit over here, a little joke, David, between us. I read the New York Times every day. And during COVID, the New York Times ran a couple articles saying how people, set their office for, looking smart on Zoom. And what was very funny is the book that everybody pointed to for making yourself look smart was this incredible book written by Robert Caro called The Power Broker. And when I saw this article, I both laughed and felt really stupid because that book is sitting right here on my shelf. And that's not staged, and I didn't put it there as a prop. It's a book that I read with a class of mine, a teacher from 11th grade when I went to high school. And the book has been with me literally ever since 11th grade because it was the most meaningful teacher relationship I've ever had. It was a wonderful book. And here it is sitting on my bookshelf, not as a prop, not to make me look smart, because I actually read it in 11th grade and, it's just been with me ever since. And if I open it up, you'd see the markings and the notes I took back when I was 17. If we were saying what the other thing most important to me is, and there's probably some reference to it here on the bookshelf, is I'm a huge music fan. And, my CD collection, even though we don't listen to CDs anymore, is probably my most prized possession, because it took a lot of years to collect CDs, tapes, records, and all that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And again, you seem like a very genuine person, clearly a family man in that. I want to know what kind of secrets, though, you're sharing with your children to be able to be such a good person and really make a mark and do something with their life.
That's a good question. I think be nice to people. Like, I think that's the most important thing we can do is, like, literally, it's the old adage of treat people the way you want to be treated. Being nice to people is a very underrated piece of advice that people get today. And be authentic and be authentic and be nice. I think that's what pops into mind right away.
Excellent, fabulous advice. And we're being very authentic today because, again, I got to tell you, Cliff, you have reinvigorated the iconic sunglasses brand. That's right, Revo. And keep on innovating. That's the challenge, and that's what you're up to.
Yeah.
And that makes you a hero within the Eliances business community. So with that, thank you so much again. Reach out, Cliff Robertson, CEO of Revo Sunglasses, Revo.com. And during the next interview, maybe perhaps you'll be seeing me wear one of their iconic sunglasses brand. This has been David Kogan. This has been David Kogan with the Eliances Hero Show.
Thank you.
Cliff, you got to dance with me too. Cool.